Hi, this is Reinhard from everydaysystems.com. Today I'm going to talk about a system that I've been practicing almost as long as any of my other systems since early 2002. A system I've gotten fantastic benefits from, but that I've never adequately described anywhere before. I call it Audiodidact. It's like autodidact, except audio instead of auto. On its most basic level, it's using sound recordings to teach yourself stuff. I'm not crazy about the name, and that's one of the reasons I haven't publicized it much yet, but it's useful enough and proven enough at this point that I think it's worth discussing in a bit of detail. There are two components to Audiodidact: input and output. Input is very simple. Basically, I listen to a ton of audiobooks. Output is where it gets more interesting. Among other things, I carry around a digital voice recorder with me on my urban ranger walks to record to-dos, random ideas that pop into my head, and keep a kind of audio diary. It's very therapeutic, auto-therapeutic, kind of like having your own shrink, except without the $150 an hour charge. I'll talk about the simple part first. I was an English lit major and trained to be a librarian. Now I'm a computer programmer. I sit all day in front of a computer. When I come home, there are 1,000 practicalities to attend to: dishes, vacuuming, laundry. I miss reading and dread these dull chores that now take up all my free time instead. The solution? Audiobooks. I know a lot of people who listen to books on tape during long commutes, and if I drove much, I do this too. But where books on tape really shine for me is these little nooks and crannies of time when I'm doing some mind-numbing chore. Not only do I get more reading done than I ever did before, but these dreaded chores become positively pleasurable. I now love doing dishes and vacuuming because they're an excuse to listen to audiobooks. And I am thorough like I'd never be if I weren't dying to find out what happens to Teddy Roosevelt next or whatever. I don't want to stop. The great thing is there's no downside to this. There's no cost or trade-off. I couldn't really be productively doing anything else with my attention at that moment. It's surplus attention that would have been wasted otherwise. The listening doesn't compete with other more active things I have to do. In fact, it helps by making these mindless chores more bearable. Another time I find Audiodidact helpful is when I'm walking home from work. An audiobook snaps me out of work mode so I can stop obsessing about my job and give my family the attention they deserve when I get home. I hate it when I catch myself thinking about Java code when I'm playing Legos with my daughter. But thanks to Audiodidact, that doesn't happen much. Here's another time when Audiodidact comes in useful. I tend to have very little trouble falling asleep, but when I do, an audiobook will knock me out in minutes. I don't know if that will work for hardcore insomniacs, but give it a try. Worst case scenario, you'll listen to something interesting for a while. What do I listen to? Among other things, a lot of teaching company stuff. These are recorded lectures by professors on various subjects. I get them mostly from the public library. This is not an expensive habit. In fact, I save money because I've essentially stopped buying books. I don't know how typical my library system is, but here in Cambridge you can request books and audiobooks online from any branch in a pretty extensive library network and have it delivered to your local branch for pickup. It's almost like a free Amazon.com. I also listen to a lot of foreign language stuff, mostly German, but some French and a tiny bit of Hebrew. Foreign language podcasts have been fantastic for this. Some people seem to think that listening is qualitatively inferior to reading, that the written word is somehow a purer medium. I think this is nuts. If anything, it's the other way around. We think of the written word as this old-fashioned, quasi-sacred thing in comparison with, say, the internet. But writing was once high-tech too. Writing is just a very lossy compression and storage technology for speech. And in the same way that we worry about the effects of modern media technologies, the ancients worried about the technology of the written word. Socrates thought it would make people stupid because they wouldn't have to remember things anymore. And in fact, this founder of Western philosophy never wrote anything. He just went around talking to people. Silent reading is an even more recent innovation than writing. People used to read everything they read out loud. St. Augustine, writing about 800 years after Socrates, was amazed when he saw that his mentor, St. Ambrose, could read silently without even moving his lips. I don't want to knock the written word. I'm very happy that Plato wrote down what Socrates said about the dangers of the written word, or I'd never have heard of them. I just want to defend audiobooks from misguided literary Puritans who say that speech somehow interferes with words. Yes, MP3s and WMAs and AACs may be new, but listening is as old school as it gets. School of Athens, old school. I'm out of time for today. I'm going to have to cover the output end of Audiodidact in a future podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.